What's up, guys? I'm so happy, and welcome to this episode of Tuesday Night Talks, which is also going to be on Instagram Live tonight. So this is exciting.
To watch us in two places at once.
Yes, because you just can't get enough of us. I'm Mikhail.
And I'm Hannah.
And every Tuesday night, for those of you who haven't checked in before, we do a live Facebook broadcast giving you the latest in digital marketing. We have Hannah's highlights tonight on the Emmys,
yes,
as well as a live Q&A. So if you have any questions about digital or social media marketing, please feel free to comment below, and we would love to answer them for you. But why don't we get started? Today, the first on the list is Instagram is threatening. I'm going to consider it a threat to create, to have their time or their the page have 4 photos on it instead of just 3. What would you have to say about that?
I have 2 points. One, every time Instagram or Facebook or any social media changes, everyone freaks out, and then you learn to live with it because we're on there for free, and so we just kind of have to deal. But we both spent a lot of time alternating so that we have a nice row of quotes and then 2 photos, and having 4 would ruin that, let alone any brands that have done tiled, so like 1 photo blown up to 3 to 6 or even 9. I think I've seen 12 tiles, so 1 photo covering 9 posts. And so I think that really, it threatens it, and it's going to screw it up a little bit. And I think that, I mean, of course, we're going to adapt regardless, but it kind of sucks in the moment.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin it.
And by the way, it's being tested right now, so we don't know 100% if it's going to come through or not. But either way, yeah, it's tough for like influencers who have spent a lot of time curating according to the 3 tiles. Instagram Live is blinking and it's tripping me out, and I don't know why.
Happening.
So yeah, so that's one thing that might be happening on Instagram coming up, in addition to everything else that Instagram's doing. Have you noticed some glitches recently? Like it's just showing the same, it's just showing like the same couple posts like over and over and over again?
I have seen that. I've also seen at some point where if I start following someone, I'll see their most, like 3 to 4 most recent posts all in a row. Not just in the same time that I'm scrolling through my feed, but in a row. And so that's slightly annoying, but it's not going to keep me from using it.
Yeah, so it's super tough. To everybody checking in, Dylan, it's so great to see you. Thank you. Bruno, it's been a long time. I appreciate, ever since you told me to keep doing it on Tuesdays, we decided to do it on Tuesdays for a really long time. That's
oh my gosh, I'm really honored. More than Tuesday tacos.
Yes,
wow.
more than Tuesday tacos.
I know how much Taco Tuesday means to people.
We really appreciate that. Hey, one thing I think is really cool is actually our next subject today. What's up, Tanner?
Hey.
How you doing, my man? Is our next subject, and it's some tips on how to monitor and take care of your online reputation, which is obviously really important. Personal branding is something that I harped on for a really long time, and something that I still think is important, but not to the extent of like you have to be on a beach and take a 3rd-person photo and fashion this and fashion that, whatever. But your online brand is really, it's a combination of things. It's what people find when they Google you. It is your Instagram profile, which is going to get ruined by Instagram. It is your LinkedIn and everything else that's going on. But we wanted to go through some tips on how to manage your online reputation. Do you have one that you want to start with?
I do. I think the biggest thing is just to have a cohesive presence on there. And this is kind of an overarching thing before we get really granular.
Yes. Yes.
I hate that word. But I was looking for a doctor recently, and I tried 2 or 3 where they weren't claimed on Yelp, and they had a Facebook page, but no profile picture, no cover photo, no posts, and like no likes or follows or anything. And so I think that made me not want to go to them because there's no social proof that they were a good doctor. They could be great, but there's no social proof, therefore I didn't want to do it.
Sure.
And so that's kind of just, it helps people trust you more. Like even if their social presence isn't amazing, so okay, well they don't have a in-house marketing team or they haven't hired out somewhere, but at least they're trying. And so there's 2 different ways to look at it, but I think just having that social proof is really valuable as a company. And even as a person, if you're trying to sell your skills, you need to prove that you can do them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's definitely really important. I love that point. Another thing that you can do to help maintain your
Sorry, Tanner, I just saw that. More glamour shots. Yeah, there's that.
Another thing that you can do to help manage your online reputation. Sorry, we had Instagram Live going. There's a lot of Hannah and Mikhail going on right now in this office, and I couldn't stand it anymore. I have to turn that off. But anyways,
Okay.
is you can use tools like Google Alerts. You can use tools like Hootsuite to
Do you have a Google alert for you?
No, I'm not that conceited. I'm Googling myself enough to where I don't need a Google alert. But Google Alerts is a great tool. And even if it's not for you, like it could be your company,
Right.
for example, right? Or your business, or you have a restaurant or something like that. Google Alerts is great. Hootsuite is a free tool where you can actually log in. And this is one thing I think Hootsuite is actually good for. You can log in and monitor all of your profiles from one page, and you can see what people are saying about you, your mentions, things like that. There's tools like Asana, which are paid tools that give you great insight on the negative things people are saying and the positive things. So there's a lot of analytics there. But again, some free tools are Hootsuite, also Google Alerts, also just a simple Google search or even a Facebook search to see how many times you're being mentioned is a great strategy.
Especially Twitter, like you'll see companies respond when the people haven't even tagged the company. And so you can find your mentions even if you aren't actually at whatever, like at username, at your handle. And so I think that's a valuable resource.
So Bruno asks, what are Google Alerts? Google Alerts, you can, if you just Google Google Alerts, you can actually sign up and you can select certain categories or certain keywords, and every morning you'll get an email with the latest news and the latest mentions that are being published on Google related to that keyword. So it's really effective if you're curating content. Actually, a lot of our content is curated from that as well. It's great if you're curating content, but additionally, you can also, monitor different people, your competitors, yourself if you want. So that's kind of what it's used for. So I definitely recommend that if you're curating content. Now, do you have any suggestions for a review strategy? Because regardless of whether or not people like it or not, Google reviews are still important. Obviously, Yelp is still important. And also Facebook reviews are coming out, and I think emerging more and more since it's more of a business, or there's so many business platforms. Can you offer any tips on a review strategy for businesses?
Why, I'm so glad you asked. So I think Google is a very valuable resource because when you search for a business on Google to look up the directions, the reviews will go there. So instead of checking Yelp and then maybe going from Yelp to Maps or to iMaps or whatever, I think that because it's all within the ecosystem, it's valuable to have. But in general, you want to respond to reviews. Some reviews may not be worth responding if they're very harsh and they're just ranty. You aren't going to get through to them. So you could say, thank you so much for taking the time. We'll take it into consideration.
What about getting new reviews?
Getting new reviews. That's a good point. I think there's a fine line between soliciting them and just asking for them. But I think just having a presence and asking, I don't know, what do you think about saying, hey, you should review us? I think it's a little too big.
It is a little big. I'll be honest with you, but at the same time, you have to remember your customers to do it. So if you do have a restaurant, a marketing agency or something, leaving a great, asking your customers to leave a review in exchange for an incentive isn't a bad idea. And here's the thing. If you are providing a great service, you should have no shame in asking for a good review. If you suck shit, don't ask for a good review. Just kind of respond to all the shitty comments that you're getting. What else did we have on the list for?
Track your competitors. This is a really good one.
Yes.
That's another way to use Google Alerts is to put your competitor's name, competitor's product name into Google Alerts so you can see what they're doing. And another trick that Mikhail has taught me is to go onto your competitors' pages and engage with their followers. And so when you stay up to date on what your competitor's doing, you don't want to copy, you don't want to be following them, but it's still good to know what they're up to so that you can kind of go and cut them off.
Yeah. And then the last tip, and this kind of goes back into not sucking shit, is are your parents watching this time? I really hope not.
No, it doesn't matter that much, but I'm just laughing.
I think my mom is, and I think she's upset with me. But
I'm sorry, Mikhail's mom.
Deliver on your promises and just do good work. Have a great product, right? So that's usually a great way to get good reviews. So if you say that if you have if you have an offer that you're giving out, or you say that you're giving out advice or something like that, make sure that you deliver on that, because it's not just about the Google reviews and your Yelp reviews. It's about when somebody searches hashtag yada yada, Hannah Moyer, let's say, and they see everything that's coming up with that, you want to make sure that your name is consistent with a good product or a good service. And lastly, associate yourself with great, respectable influencers if you can. So whether it's getting on somebody else's page, getting mentioned by like the OC Weekly, if you're local, and great press can help with your reputation as well. Again, it's not just about your reviews itself; it's about everything that comes up about you on Google and how you can actually manage and maintain all of that. So, for all of you that are checking in right now, we really appreciate it. And if you've never checked in before, every Tuesday night we do a live Facebook broadcast. Woo!
Words. Hard.
A live Facebook broadcast giving you the latest in digital marketing, as well as answering any questions that you might have about social media marketing or digital marketing as a whole. It's weird to say both of those. So if you do have any questions, feel free to comment below. I don't know if we can do the live invite somebody because we decided to do this from the laptop, but it failed last time. We'll try it again next time. But moving on to the next segment, we've been getting a lot of feedback on this, but Hannah's highlights.
Have we been getting a lot of feedback? Do people like it? Do you
A couple
like it?
people have actually said that Hannah's highlights was their favorite part.
Oh, that's so sweet, guys. Thanks.
Little known fact about Hannah,
Uh-oh.
she's obsessed with award shows.
Oddly, obsessed is a little bit strong. But even though I'm not much of I'm a music buff, but I find them fascinating to kind of like predict who's going to do it. I had an Oscars party this year. It was great.
It was actually really interesting.
Inspired.
So Hannah's been here since May, and it was very interesting that she got her TV for her new place, right?
Oh, yeah, I kind of had to.
A week before the Emmys. Tell me that you didn't try and do that on purpose.
No, I did not. I didn't even know the Emmys were happening until a couple days before.
Okay.
See,
right.
I'm not that obsessed.
Sure.
But yes, I do enjoy it. I think it's very interesting to see how companies use social media during that. And I also tend to live tweet and live Insta story. I thought that overall, I mean, Colbert was a phenomenal host. I think he's one of my favorites. They had good presenters. They had Sean Spicer, which, politics aside, that was a brilliant surprise. Like, people thought, oh, it's Melissa McCarthy, and then the cameras pan to Melissa McCarthy in the audience, and everyone's like, oh, shoot, what's happening? Anna Chlumsky from Veep, her reaction was by far the best. She was stunned, had no idea what was happening. And so I think the writing was surprisingly good. I think award shows can kind of go downhill a little bit. But I think overall they did a really good job of integrating the audience, integrating current events. They took some time to talk about Harvey and Irma and those effects. And I feel like it was an enjoyable night. And it's really nice being on the West Coast because they end before 11 or midnight. And I'm a grandmother and go to bed early.
So you mentioned that the Emmys were using social media during the time. It was like probably Emmys 2017 hashtag, right? Yeah. Something like that. Were you actually following along on Twitter or anything?
I was, a little bit. Not as much as I have in past years, but it is fun seeing what celebrities or influencers say, and then what regular users say, and what the Emmys official Twitter account says, and kind of a mishmash of everything. I'm the marketing nerd that loves just being on my computer. Okay, who said what? So,
do you feel like for any live event, doing like live tweets or doing some sort of live engagement, do you think that that's actually valuable to companies? Like if somebody was at an expo, is that actually valuable to build community, or what would you say about that?
It kind of helps with the FOMO factor, because there were a couple times I couldn't find a way to watch award shows live, and so I'd be following on Twitter.
Sure.
I think it might almost be overused a bit. Twitter's in this weird spot where some people still really love it, this guy, and then other people are just kind of, whatever, I can take it or leave it. And so I think there's still definitely value, and especially for brands, like if you're advertising during it, or if you have a really great brand voice and use that to talk about the Emmys or Super Bowl or whatever. Like there was a time when the power went out at the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and Oreo did You Can Still Dunk in the Dark. And that was brilliant because they had all the decision makers in the room, and they were able to just pull that together in minutes. And so I think that is the value in live tweeting.
Yeah, and they blew up a little bit, at least for like a month
For
or
a little
something
bit.
like after that. You know you're a marketer when you know like specific campaigns that were going out during certain times. I'm trying to like even this out. It's not really working.
Okay, it's fine.
So anyways,
Just hog the screen.
just no, you know, but I'm trying to put you right in the middle of everything. That's
You're
exactly
good.
what I'm trying to do. Cool. So thank you for Hannah's highlights this week. We really appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
For those of you checking in, every Tuesday night, live at 7 p.m., we do our broadcast of bringing the latest in digital marketing. And for our final segment tonight, what's working for our clients?
Yes.
Yes. What's one thing that you've been seeing working for our clients?
I think influencer marketing has really been working for our beauty client that we have. I think it took a little bit to finesse exactly who we want to target, how we want to make it happen, what the ratio between posts and stories, and the size of audience that we're looking for. But I think we're really starting to nail it in, and I think it's been working really well for them. And so it's cool to see, and I think it's definitely only going to grow in the next year.
Right.
And so it's good that we started working on it when it was before it was cool.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we've gotten into the.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like we've done a lot of things for our clients before it was cool, and then they pick up on it, and they're like, "Hey, why don't we?" It's like we're actually doing it.
We've done it. We've done it already.
Oh, that's why you guys rule. One thing that I've seen working really well for our clients actually is there's a couple things that are working really well for our clients. One is a solid email campaign is actually really working. You've been managing a lot of the emails for some of our clients. What are some pointers that you would give to anybody that's utilizing an email campaign? And
I think, let's see. For the restaurant that we have, I've been really considering the brand voice, and we can have some fun with this client. We can be a little snarky. And if you know me, I love being snarky. And so I think really playing with the subject line. And then also just trying to keep the content engaging. So you want it to be consistent because it takes a while to sell someone on an idea, especially in email marketing. But you also don't want it to be so repetitive that people just exit as soon as they open it, or they don't even open it because they realize that you're providing valuable information. So it's this valuable mix. And then for one of our medical clients, that I think just really being consistent with it. So we've gotten into the habit of doing it every 2 weeks. Same day, same time, based on MailChimp's little algorithm. And I think that's been really working well for them. And just consistency in anything in marketing is key. Yeah,
that's true because it gives something people to expect. Wow, that's like a mild form of dyslexia, I feel like. It gives people something to expect.
Yes.
And, whether they like it or not, it's coming through. So I think those are some really good takeaways. Matthew actually asked, do you see IG influencer promotions working better than than on a Facebook page or on Twitter? Yes, absolutely. I think that most people's attention when they're consuming content is on Instagram. I think that's where a lot of research is going on for fashion brands, especially for anything in beauty. I even think that with the right influencer, and I have a little context on you, so this is a little easier to answer. I think with the right influencer, you can also, promote something like a medical place, like a nursing home, right?
Yeah.
And I think what that is it's about finding a local influencer, somebody with maybe 50 to 100,000 followers in a local area, and sending them and having them do their own thing in a certain place. For example, we saw a medical commercial today that used influencers as well. Or I was watching it with Nelson anyways.
Okay. I was like, I don't remember.
But it was, those sterile commercials for like, I don't know, Lipitor,
Yeah.
And it's just always the same thing. It has like some older people like running in the field with their kids, and then slow motion they run into
showing
their
how their
arms.
life is better because of drugs.
Yeah, exactly. They flipped this one completely on their head, and they took Patrick Dempsey from.
Oh, yes, it's the TV doctors versus real doctors.
Yeah, it was the TV doctors versus
that is
real
brilliant.
Doctors. Exactly. So they took Patrick Dempsey. They took somebody from the After Hours one, some lady.
Some scrubs.
They took the brown teddy bear from
Bezos.
Scrubs. They say brown teddy bear, right?
Brown bear.
Brown bear.
And then brown cub. Or no,
brown cub.
mocha cub.
And then they so anyways, they took all, and then they talked Doogie Howser.
Yeah.
And they put them all into this commercial. And even though it was a serious product, and this is my point, even though it was a serious product and treating a campaign, they still used the comedy factor to kind of get the attention in the beginning.
And people are like, wait, Donald Faison, or wait, McSteamy or McHottie or whatever the Grey's Anatomy one is.
Yeah.
Like that connects people more.
Sure. So you know, using something like using Instagram influencers, even if it's, you know, if it's not a medical person but somebody who's funny but local to a certain place, can definitely work. Long story short, Matthew, thank you so much for your question. But yes, Instagram influencers all day long. But also don't be afraid to, you know, try it.
I think it's also easier to get more organic engagement from Instagram than Facebook. And tweets don't have much of a lifespan.
Yeah, exactly. Tweets, I wouldn't even use Twitter influencers, to be honest with you. And Facebook is just a completely different game. And I think that if you are going to use influencers, so to speak, it's more, I wouldn't necessarily use an influencer on Facebook. I would use a content creator on Facebook, because you see people like, you know, College Humor or something like that.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that come out with viral videos. So in a way, you're using people who have a history of creating viral videos on Facebook and putting your product or your service or mentioning your restaurant, whatever it may be, in their content. So not necessarily the same thing.
I've actually seen a radio station back home in Philly start using their Facebook page to sell ads. So they'll promote local businesses and use #ad. And so instead of just selling airtime, which is harder for radios to do this today, to be able to get enough revenues, they've been trying to find other revenue streams. And that is an interesting, I'm not totally sure if I like it or not. I feel like it's a little, I don't know. I think some fans were a little turned off by it at first, but it's still a valuable way of, I mean, it's basically influencer marketing to this point. Absolutely.
And then lastly, something that is not necessarily surprising to me, but probably surprising to a lot of people, is Instagram has been working really well for real estate developments and getting leads when used properly. Now, this is different than a real estate agent who's showing a home. This is actually like the KPI is getting new emails subscriptions for a new real estate development, and that has been working out really well. And it's all about, you know, using the link in the bio technique and posting consistent content and beautiful content and what people can and what people will enjoy. But we've actually received a couple leads, and in some cases it's outweighed paid advertising by doing that organically. So definitely don't take that out of your wheelhouse of marketing stuff. Rebecca, I've never seen you here before, but welcome to the show, and we really appreciate it. We're actually just going to be wrapping up as we are peaking in viewers, which is awesome. I love that. But I will leave you with this. I had an interview with my friend Paul Soucy today, and he says, "We're only given one life, so do everything you can to make something of it." Until next week, my name is Michaela.
And I'm Hannah.
And thank you for joining us.